made it 12 Premier League wins in a row at home by beating Luton. At the other end of the table, Sheffield United still without a win, still bottom after getting thrashed at the Emirates. Bournemouth beat Burnley. They've got their first win of the season. They move out of the relegation zone. Chelsea are down to 11th after they lost at home to West London rivals Brentford. Happier days for Manchester United. We'll talk about their Derby Day experience in a second, but a word on Manchester City first of all, and how dominant they were without ever really breaking sweat in the game.
Yeah, and it was a game, unfortunately for United, and like you said, we get onto them, that you just, at the start of it, you never at any stage thought that they were going to be able to do anything to beat City. And even if they did have a great start, which we've not seen from them, would they be able to sustain it long enough with a system of play that's going to put the kind of pressure on Manchester City that's going to push them back? So you're always worried for Man United, but City, you know, it's just, like you said, Bernardo Silva and Foden. You know what I mean? Even Erling Haaland, with it setting up Foden for the last one, it's almost like it's this training game almost.
But right, did you ever as a player, you know, when the team sheets come out and you look at the teams and think,
yeah,
we're going to win, yeah. When I saw the teams yesterday from City and United, I thought,
yeah,
this is going to be tough.
Because the thing is that Man City don't deviate from what they're doing, and the only way you get anything from them is putting them under continuous pressure. You know, continuous pressure, and then you want players playing well in the system, what they're playing, and individually doing stuff. And you've got to beat City, you've got to do that for the whole game. This is why you look at the team, and I could not see that happening.
Just asking both of you, do you ever look at, not so much teams, but look at the state of the team and the state of the club? And you probably will know players at that club and think they're all over the place at the moment. We get the first goal, we're going to win.
At the moment, I don't know how it is, but if we were playing, my Arsenal team back then, if we were, with everything that's going on with Man United now, and we were playing them now, absolutely you'd be thinking about keeping that pressure on by just keeping the players under pressure, who are under pressure with 70,000 still turning up to Old Trafford, knowing that they've not really got a system of playing, knowing that they've got players out of form, knowing that the fans are on a couple of players. You absolutely play into that. You have to.
Yeah, I think it's a good point of, you know, if you're City, obviously, but I think for United, I thought the biggest cheer in the game, I think it was after about 20 minutes, Maguire tackled somebody, and that's all they wanted. Somebody, give me something. You know, somebody show me, a little bit of fight. And I think that's the crowd. That's an educated crowd. They knew City were going to come there and win the game. But you got to give, got to invest a little bit more. And I think for Wright, you know, you see the teams and you think, but still, you still got to, City got to go and win the game, and you got to fight. And I just think they were lacking in almost every phase. They were second best. And the thing is, United players back in the day would have got in the City team or a great Arsenal team. Now, I don't think there's United players that could get into that Manchester City 11. That's how strong it is.
And Manchester City, as you say, though, needed to be able to take advantage of that Manchester United team, and they did so without really having to put too much effort into it. I mean, it helps that Haaland looks like he's, I was going to say back on form, but he had 9 and 9 before this. But, you know, he got the penalty, and then he got the header. But he'd had a bit of practice with the header because he had almost an identical chance in the first half. There was a really nice chat between him and Pep Guardiola as they came off the pitch, where they were talking about it looked like they were talking about the difference between the two headers. Like,
look at Pep. Yeah, because with the first one, I think you have to put it down. From that close, I never believed that the goalie should be saving it from that close. I think that he's got to head it back where it's coming from. You know what I mean? You've got to bam and head it back where it's coming from. With the first one, he got it down, and then Onana made a good save. But with the second one, he's almost like he got up too early, but he guided it back where it's coming from. And you could see Onana, who had to, like with the first save, take a chance on going that way and save the first one. But the second one, he done what you should do. You head it back where it's coming from. And then, you know what I mean, it just floated into the goal. I'd be disappointed simply because I'd want a hat trick, and it was an easy hat trick to have to get for him.
Do you know what people who were watching that footage of Pep Guardiola and Erling Haaland couldn't see is that you made exactly the same moves as Erling Haaland when you were
finding that I'm doing it. My daughters are watching me watching the telly, and then they just keep saying, "Why you keep doing that?" I'm still doing it.
But look, it was a fantastic performance from Manchester City, even if we didn't maybe see them at 100% of their powers. great performance from Erling Haaland, who's had an extraordinary year by any standards of any era. And the Ballon d'Or is this evening, and yet he is not the favourite to win it.
It's so weird. I've said many times that in years to come, we may look back on this year where he's come from a league where everyone said, quite disrespectful, it was a farmers league. And actually, he's come into what a lot of people believe is the toughest league in the world and scored more goals.
Treating it like a farmers league.
Well, absolutely. And plus, he's won the treble last season as well. He smashed all sorts of Premier League records in his debut season as well. And he started this season off like a house on fire. And yet, Messi has had a dream season. And he's won the World Cup, which is the one trophy he'd never won, and been a key figure in so doing.
If it was based on just pure football, surely Haaland would have to win.
Yes.
Numbers, treble, harder league.
100%.
But we all know Messi's going to win because it's a popularity contest.
And it's the World Cup.
And it probably is his last one.
100%.
And I don't mind that.
And he's finally won the World Cup. It's like the icing on the cake for him to like give him the flowers. Bam, go off now, Messi.
All
and be
football
one of the
fans,
greatest.
I think, wouldn't mind that. But in the end, if it's going to be about being who was the most impactful player in the world of football, surely it had to have been
Haaland.
Erling Haaland.
And that's the thing, is we don't really know what the criteria are, because people vote with their own emotion as much as anything.
Which, listen, if had it been anyone else apart from Messi and everybody wanted Messi, but good point. If I'm Haaland, to go to, like you said, and score 52 goals, win the treble, which hasn't been done here since, like Man United done it. It's not been only done twice in
But the thing with Haaland is, he might.
That's the thing. You're hoping, because what you want is, you don't want these players to finish and, you know, just simply like you mentioned, it might be a popularity contest, that they don't have something to show. This is why I was quite pleased that Benzema ended up winning one as well.
Well, that's a good point, Mikey, because that happened to Lewandowski, didn't it?
Lewandowski.
He didn't get it. He'll never get another one, will he?
Yeah. And so you're just pleased that they can get that recognition. And, you know, I don't know how long Messi's going to go on for after this, because he's done it also. Probably everything now that Ronaldo's now kind of like where he is and Messi's kind of easy now, we're going to start seeing people like Haaland.
The problem is Jude Bellingham's coming through.
Bellingham.
Good point. But I hope we do move away from that whole idea that we're enthralled to just two players, because they are magnificent footballers, of course. But there are so many who don't get the credit they deserve because of the way that the system works and because of the fact that it's a popularity contest. I remember Jose Mourinho saying many years ago that they tend to give it to the people who win things. But if you're Messi, you've got even more chance of winning it, even if you don't win things. I think as far as Haaland is concerned, he's a phenomenon. He's a phenomenon for the 21st century, Gen A, if you like. And Bellingham is on that level as well. I don't see too many other players that are on that level, unless I'm mistaken. Vinicius Junior, perhaps.
Mbappe,
yes, of course. Don't tell me like 5 or 6 more, maybe.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Saka. Your thing's falling out. Your batteries are falling out and everything. Look at your batteries. Oh, no, all of the batteries.
I tell you what, we'll chat amongst ourselves.
You find that other battery. Oh, God.
I tell you what, let's do a change of gear now. While Darren is doing a change of battery, where we talk, and we'll talk about Manchester United, because we've gone from, you know, the excitement of Manchester City, of Haaland. He's still giggling over there. He's a qualified professional. We've got Haaland, who is, you know, probably the leading candidate for the Ballon d'Or, but won't win it because he's up against Messi. It wasn't even him who was man of the match yesterday, despite getting 2 goals and an assist. That went to Bernardo Silva. There are players throughout that Manchester City team who had a claim to being either on the, you know, man of the match list for yesterday, or even the Ballon d'Or list for what they've achieved over the season. But for Manchester United, the gulf is huge. You look at that squad. I mean, you said it, Owen. In the past, Manchester United players would have been able to get into pretty much any team in the league. But now, you know, since 2016-17, when Pep came in, it's just gone from bad to worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think yesterday everybody knew that was probably going to happen. You know, as a United fan, you hope probably might turn out different. You know, the derby and the emotion and everything. But once City actually got rolling, it was inevitable. And I think if you just look at the spine of the team. You look at Edison, Diaz, Stones, Rodri, and then you look at Haaland, and then you look at United's spine, and you think, okay, I like Onana. I thought he was their best player yesterday. It's going to take a bit of time. Centre backs, we're still not sure. Casemiro's not been to the level that he has. The midfield yesterday was miles off. You know, and then you look at young Højlund as a young kid. I think he's going to be great, but he hasn't scored yet in the Premier League. So you're talking about just that alone, and then you sprinkle in Bernardo. I thought John Stones was amazing yesterday, popping into midfield. So I don't think you have to respect what Manchester City have built in terms of the players. And Man United have spent a lot of money, and you know they almost spent the same money or more, if not, haven't they? Yeah. And they don't have the same to show for it, and that's the worry.
Well, it's comparable, but the reporting around the fees has been that it's been done on a sort of spread out basis, been done on installations, if you like, and then installments, and so it maybe means that you're going in at a slightly different area in the transfer market. You would be if you were Manchester City, but on the face of it, it looks like they're spending similar amounts of money. And welcome back, Darren. And it doesn't feel like they've got anywhere near the quality that Manchester City have. So why and how does it happen that Manchester United, for example, start yesterday with Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire in the centre of their defence? And that's only naming one particular part of the pitch.
Yeah, of course. I think it's because when Pep Guardiola arrived, the groundwork had been laid by Txiki Begiristain, Ferran Soriano, and the foundations were there for him to build over several years to get to where they are now. I think as far as Manchester United are concerned, when Ten Hag arrived, the team was almost like a Frankenstein's monster of different managers' ideas and theories and cultures, and there just doesn't seem to be that joined up thinking off the pitch as well as on it. Whereas right now, United are everything that City are not. City are organised, they're efficient, they're disciplined. You look at the way that they play, and there's a consistency about the way that they play. United right now are a team you simply can't trust. And the reason that you can't trust them is a combination of things. And a lot of that does relate to recruitment. Because you speak to, over 20 years, I've spoken to so many managers, and you give them credit for what they've done, and they all turn around and say, it's good players. But allied to that, you've got to have that discipline, and you've got to have players who fit into a system and a vision. And I don't really see how United are going to play. And that's why those results are as they are. And if you look at the next sequence of results, the only team I could guarantee almost that they would beat would be Luton.
They didn't play well in any of those games.
No, and the 5 defeats that they've had from the opening 10 games is more defeats from the opening 10 in any Premier League season. 3 was the previous highest number of defeats. And 6 is the only one that beats them. That was the 86-87 season, which saw Ron Atkinson sacked and the start of the Alex Ferguson era. So that's how long ago we're talking since Manchester United have lost that many games at the start of a top-flight season.
And there are those fixtures I was talking about a second ago. I mean, but Copenhagen, if they could finish in midweek, would have beaten Manchester United. I can't see them going to Galatasaray. Everton yesterday, great win at West Ham, Newcastle are a hard place to go for any team. Fulham as well. So I think they've got big problems, Manchester United. But it's not a question of being wise after the event, because across the Sunday papers here in the UK, a lot of newspapers were talking about the fact that if you analyse United's spending, it hasn't been good enough. It hasn't been joined up enough. There are too many, as you started saying right at the start of the show, too many players that have just not been good enough for the Premier League that Ten Hag has brought in. And also, and I don't say this to be disrespectful to Ten Hag, but you have to wonder whether his body of work actually beats the requirements for a Manchester United, because I think if you look at Ajax at the moment, they've struggled without him. That's fair to say. But I think as far as his man management ability is, there are a number of players whose treatment of whom